welcome to this episode. I have a guest with me, Shide. So Shide she's in compliance. She works in asset management. That's her day job. By night, you are...
Things that are coming through in the pipeline.
There are other things coming through in the pipeline. And so Shide is somebody that I work with. So we go to the same church. And I lead various teams in church as well, outside of what I do in business. And Shide is one of the high potential leaders that I have the privilege of doing life with. What is it like doing life with me, Shids?
It's fun.
It's fun.
It actually is fun.
In what way?
It's fun there's enjoyment while you're still living life, delivering on your duties, your tasks. It's transformative.
Transformative?
Yeah.
Okay.
In a really good way, a very positive way, because the person I am now compared to the person in 2020, not the same person.
Has it been since 2020?
It has.
Wow, that's 4 years.
4 years. 4 years this month.
4 years this month.
Mm-hmm.
Time is flying. And so in this session, we're going to be I am in focus. And what we're going to be talking about is, what works and what doesn't. At least some lessons in that regard in terms of leadership. And so we're doing a bit of an open 360. I don't know what Shide is about to share, but she's going to be talking about some things that she feels I do well as a leader. And then all leaders have blind spots. And she's going to be highlighting some areas that I can do better. We're going to have a conversation around that. And this is quite unique in the sense that most times feedback is, first of all, not in public. And then secondly, is anonymous. But I think Shide is not a yes person. So she's about to give it to me hot.
That is correct. P, you're going to be on the hot seat today. I hope you're ready.
I'm on the hot seat. So without further ado, I'll hand over to you.
Thank you very much, P. I am honored that I'm on this episode with you, that I'm on the podcast. That is exciting. Thank you for having me.
I'm glad you're here.
I'm going to start off very light.
Okay.
I have 3 would you rather questions.
Let's go for it.
So let's start with the first one. Would you rather be able to eat anything you want and have it be perfect nutrition, or have to only sleep 1 hour a day and be fully rested?
Sleep 1 hour a day and be fully rested, or eat anything and it be perfect nutrition?
Yeah.
Oh, that's a tough one. I kind of like want to sleep, but if I'm going to be done, I don't want to eat anything.
You didn't have to think too much. Let's have eat anything.
I want to eat anything and it be perfect nutrition.
I want to ask why, but I'll save that for another episode. Let's discuss this. My second one is, would you rather live in a world without music or without movies?
Wow. Can I play music in my head?
No. There's absolutely nothing like music.
There's nothing like music, just movies.
Yes.
Without movies.
I just knew it would be without movies. I can't imagine you without music.
Without music, I can't even imagine life without music, I mean, it's interesting. Today, I woke up, I was doing my quiet time. It wasn't so quiet because I put on, like praise, and I just started to dance all over the place. So without music, without music, I can't imagine without music.
Okay, perfect. So that's what I thought you would say. And then the last one is, would you rather a 3-week all expenses paid beach holiday through various parts of the south of France, or an all-inclusive 3-week cruise?
All-inclusive 3-week cruise.
Wow, I want to know why.
Because, first of all, with cruises, and I've been on a couple, they're amazing.
Okay.
And then you're going to different countries.
True.
So that's the first one. It's different countries, and I have this thing of wanting to visit new countries. And then if you're going for the right cruise, so I went on the Virgin cruise, and it was through somewhere in Europe. Man, the food was amazing. I'm talking about 5-star type restaurants on board. And you have to obviously register for those and all that. But it's unbelievable. I think a cruise is one of the most efficient, cost-effective holidays, and you have a wonderful time.
Okay, I didn't think that. Maybe you sold me on cruises
now.
We're
going to have to make one happen for
we have to make it happen. But yeah, let's dive into today's episode. We're going to be talking about your leadership.
Yes.
And it's going to be interesting because it's coming from someone you are leading currently.
This is true.
By the way, if you guys don't know, I am one of these proteges. But technically, I'm Pastor Shola, Pastor Bimbo's proteges because they are the ones who coached PU, who has coached me.
This is it.
Or maybe I'm just trying to be connected to Pastor Shola, Pastor Bimbo somehow. But we're going to be talking about you today. And I have a few, in fact, many examples of your leadership and how transformative it's been, how positive it's been. So I want us to start off with those ones.
Let's do that.
And I'm going to share one example, first of all, to kick us off. I don't know if you remember this, but when I was joining Vibe, so Vibe is one of Pastor Uche's ministries that he oversees. When I was joining Vibe, I started off very timid. I was in the media team at first. And then I think it was time to become a champion and I was refusing. I refused. I remember speaking to Toby and I was like, before Toby even asked me, I was like, nope, I'm not doing it. Don't give me any leadership position. And then you had a conversation with me separately. And I think we had probably spoken a few times, but not as in depth as this day. And in this conversation, you just kind of spoke to me, not trying to pull me into, you must take this role. But you just spoke to me, okay, how's it going? How have you been feeling, Vibe? What are you doing outside of work? Are you enjoying it? You just spoke to me like, let me just find out about you. And then you went on to just talk about how, you see these qualities in me, you see this potential, and regardless of whether I take up this position or not, you see me as a leader. So I think for me, that just helped me see, actually, maybe I could do it. But because you had already kind of coached me stylishly without letting me know. So what I'm trying to share is an example I've seen you do, not just with me. And I remember with someone else that we were potentially thinking of for a leadership position. And I remember you said to them, using my example, I was like, imagine if I left Shide where she was in the beginning, would she be here now?
Yes.
So you see the potential in people before they even become that person. And I think that's a great example of leadership because you're going not by what you see, but who you think the person is. Yes. And can we talk about that a little bit? How do you spot potential and how do you hone in on that potential and bring people out of, would I say mediocrity? I mean, I don't know if that's a harsh word, but people not fulfilling their fullest potential.
I think first and foremost, what I would say is there's potential in everybody, right? The way I would think about it is if you think of sports, Michael Jordan. I'm not a big sports person, so all my examples tend to be backdated. But Michael Jordan, arguably one of the best basketball players of all time, if not the best. Now imagine, and he did it actually. Michael Jordan went at some point when he was having a bit of a bad patch in basketball, and he went to go and play baseball. And he was shambolic. He nowhere near as good as he is in basketball. The point I'm making is, it's not about whether or not Michael Jordan or the person has potential. It's just making sure that they are playing in the right game.
That is, wow.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's making sure they're playing the right game. So if you see a person, they might be struggling in baseball, but the question is not do they have potential? They do. Let's find the game that they will thrive in. Let's find the position. Let's find the opportunity that this person will shine.
Yeah.
And so sometimes people, not sometimes, all of us, we can't see the back, right? We all have blind spots. So a leader's role is helping people, get to that sweet spot.
Okay.
That's what a leader's role is. But it really starts with the fundamental belief that everybody has potential.
You have to have hardwired your brain to think that way, right?
This is true.
How did you do that?
To be honest with you, I can't give an answer as to I did this, that, the other. The only thing I would say is perhaps it is what was done for me. You get what I'm saying? So if I'm to be honest, and if everybody is honest, we all start off pretty average. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's generally the truth.
That was me.
Yeah. And so you need someone to coach you. I started my career in investment banking, never thought about anything that I do now. But the leaders around me, whether I was actually in the bank, because I had some pretty good leaders when I was working there, or let's say in church, my pastors, particularly in church, they saw things in me that I didn't see in myself. And they gave me opportunities in spite of some mistakes I was making.
Yeah.
In spite of, I'm like, did you hear what I did? And you want me to do this? And they're like, yeah, it's fine. You made a mistake. Like, you've learned from your mistake. Don't do it again. But we believe in you. So I think because of what was done for me, I naturally, kind of do that for people. And I'm just hearing my wife's voice in my head who is saying, well, Uche, what you said is true, but it's just kind of like who you are as well.
Wow.
Like you genuinely see the best in people and want them to maximize that potential. It's kind of like it's a drug for me. You know what I mean?
That's why you're in the career that you're in.
Exactly. I'm an executive coach, executive education, right? It's literally a drug for me. I just get so excited seeing somebody blossom.
I love that, because when I tie it back to this example that made me think about good leadership, I know that wasn't the only time where I refused a leadership position. And even still then, you took your time, coached me. And if I didn't know that somebody else believed in me, I would never have believed in myself that I was able to. So I hear that.
Yeah.
I'm really glad to hear that.
And the thing that comes to mind as well is that people rise up to your expectation.
Is this always true for everybody?
There would always be exceptions to the rule.
Okay.
And sometimes your expectation can be unfounded. You know what I mean? Like, have realistic expectations. There's not. But generally speaking, people, there's in Dale Carnegie's book, How to Win Friends and Influence People, one of the principles is throw down a challenge.
Okay.
And people, generally speaking, they would like, let me try that. As far as they know that you are with them.
Okay.
Right? Not that you're going to leave them in the lurch to figure it out for themselves.
Yeah.
So in that regard, people rise up most times.
I guess that's the power of not just managing people, but leading and coaching people.
This is it.
And transforming them.
This is it. This is exactly it. There was this. I was in this teaching yesterday. In that session, I was talking about the focus needs to be people first.
Yeah.
Like, task is like a close second. It's extremely important, but your mindset has to be the people first, because too many leaders, it's about executing the task, and the people are a tool to get it done. And human beings, at some point you can tell them, when you're like a tool.
That is true.
You will feel it. They might not tell you you're a tool, but you begin to feel from
the way they are watching you.
Because the tool behavior would have been to say to you, look, Toby has spoken to you, do this.
Yeah.
Just do it. There was no need
true.
to be asking you questions. So it's wanting to actually know you first, and then build on from that.
No, that's really good. And I'm getting to know you more than I thought I would.
I'm getting to know myself.
This is why I say 360 and a public
open 360. Don't worry, guys. We're going to get to the juicy, what I can do better.
Ooh, that was going to be. Even me, I'm like, can I say this?
You can say it. And you don't couch it.
No.
Say it like you're writing it black and white.
No, I won't miss my words.
Dude, nice.
And so another example I was thinking about when I was just preparing for this episode is how you appreciate people's efforts, but don't leave them at that spot. So you make sure that you're doing well. I appreciate you. I acknowledge you. In fact, take some time out and enjoy this win. But know that we're reaching out for even greater, and you can achieve even greater. So I like that in your leadership, and what I've noticed and what I even apply outside of church and outside of ministry is knowing that I can always aim for more. And I can always excel on something I've already done. Make it, if you did 100, why can't you do 150? Then why can't you go to 200? Absolutely. And I've seen you do that with Vibe. I've seen you do that with us in the leadership team. So can we just talk about that a little bit? Like, you know what? I'll let you talk and I'll ask my next question.
So I think with that, it's I guess the image that comes to mind is a rubber band. It's when you see it, it's like shrunken and tiny. Yeah. But you can stretch it. And you don't stretch it to the point where it breaks, because it will break at some point, right?
Yeah.
But you don't just take it and just do. The reason you don't break it is because you're stretching it gradually. Yeah. Right. And that gradual stretch is a surprise to both you, the leader, and the person you're leading.
Trust me, it's been a surprise to us sometimes.
Right? In terms of what is actually possible.
Yeah.
And its reference point. So who you allow lead you is very important. And I remember somebody once said, some people have had this experience where you are parked behind a car and you're waiting for the car to go because maybe it's a red light or something. You realize this car is parked. It's not going anywhere. In like manner, You want to be being led by a leader who is proactive, thinking big. And I say all leaders are readers. So my stretching someone is influenced by two things: by what I have seen, but also just what I've read. I'm learning from other leaders, and I'm like, no, this thing is possible. I may not have achieved it, but no, we can do it, and you can do it, even if that's not been my personal experience.
Yeah.
So I think again is that mentality of the rubber band that comes to mind. One thing I would say here though is, if you think of just any vertical line, let's just say 6 feet,
Yeah.
If I said to somebody, jump 6 feet, the person will look and be like, let's not even bother. Yeah, don't be silly.
Yeah.
But let's say the person has within them the ability to jump 6 feet.
Yeah.
You start with 1.
True.
Because when the person jumps half, even if it's with relative ease, and you're like, that's good. You did that. Maybe you change your technique here, do this, but that was good. The person's confidence is growing. Now I'm sure you can do 1. It's like, I'm pretty sure I can do 1. And you may not go to 2, you might go 1.5. Whether you go from 1 to 2 or 1 to 3 straight depends on the person.
Yeah.
And so with one person, you go from 1 to 4. With another person, you go from 1 to 1.5.
Yeah.
And so you have to know the people. So leadership is not one size fits all. It's a responsibility. It takes time.
How would you say that the reading you've done, I think partly the reading you've done, but also, like you said, the leaders you have followed have shown you how to think this way? Because I'm just thinking about it, what you just said about if someone is practicing to jump 6 feet, they start off with 1. Depending on who it is, they might just go next to 4 feet. Somebody else, you might like, okay, let's do 1.5. How do you tell the difference? How are you able to spot that in people?
Yeah. So, I mean, I was about to just give a very nonsensical answer, which is you just know.
You have to explain it to us.
you just know. I think one thing I would say is in conversation.
Okay.
Right? To say that, there's that sense of, I think you can do this. We can go straight for it. And if it doesn't quite happen, I'm here.
Yeah.
And we can start from lower ranks. And somebody else might be like, actually, I'd rather just do the 1.5 first.
Okay.
To build confidence.
Yeah.
So it's more of a conversation thing.
Okay.
Right? And so in conversation, people also help you know where they are.
Yeah.
Now, as a leader, you're also going to stretch people.
Yeah.
And so that stretch depends on a beautiful word called trust.
Please say it again, sir.
It depends on a beautiful word called trust.
Thank you.
That if there's trust, a lot of people that are being led, or somebody following a leader, they are willing to try because they trust that the leader has their best interest at heart. They trust that he knows, and there's trust is built with a track record.
Yeah.
I didn't think I could do this. He believed in me. He coached me. I did it.
Yeah.
And there's 1 or 2, 3 examples. And now this one is like, oh my God, I know you have faith in me and humanity, but this is crazy. But because they trust you, the leader, and even when they fail or made mistakes in the past, you didn't slam on them, you didn't, then they're willing to say, actually, I will give it a go. Because if I don't quite make it, I know that you're there for me.
That is profound.
Yeah.
That is profound.
It's an important one.
That is a very important one, because I can see that in your leadership, how you've built trust with the people that you are leading, and even those who are not directly under your supervision or your oversight. I would say, because even when you were speaking about me and talking about my potential and the qualities you saw in me, someone would say, oh, were you just saying things? It could have just been something you just plucked out of thin air. I'm like, yeah, I'm sure you can swim, or some random thing. But you had actually taken time to understand me. So the things that you saw of me, my potential, and you do this with other people as well, is based on who you know that they are and how they're going, the trajectory of their lives. So that thing about trust, I can see how you build that, because you're getting to know the people, you're spending time with them, spending time with people like me, and you don't, it's not like, I'm your leader. It's like, I'm coming to get to know you as a friend.
This is it.
And then through that we work together. So
Absolutely.
that trust is a very big one.
It is.
Have you ever felt like, I know we're focusing on your leadership, so maybe we can go here a little bit before we, or maybe I'm just, trying to kill some time if I get to the what to improve. But have you ever felt that people have broken your trust while you're leading them?
Absolutely.
And how did you deal with it?
You take it in your stride.
Okay.
Like there was a very, I can give you two examples. In one case, somebody went to my leader and just complained.
Okay.
But it wasn't so much complaining, because nobody is perfect, but it was saying things that it's okay to say, but if you had said them to me and we had a discussion, perhaps you give me a chance to change, or at least explain certain things.
Yeah.
Or you just go straight and it wasn't putting me in a good light at all. And nobody is ever 100% perfect all the time.
Yeah.
Right. So giving an example of when I was not at my best, or when I was at maybe even my worst.
Yeah.
But making that example to seem like this is a regular occurrence. What do you do with that? The truth of the matter is, I kept on leading the person.
Okay.
Right. Did I have a conversation with the person? I could have, but me and my leader decided to don't do that. There's no need to do that, and it will be uncomfortable. The power dynamic is different.
Yeah.
And I made peace with it.
Yeah.
Now, there's something very important. I talk about making peace versus burying things. So I had to work through it in conversation with, like, my wife, counseling, friend that I trust, anonymously, of course, so that we don't change. The person doesn't get a bad rap. And after some time, I let it go. I kind of moved on completely, and I can give multiple examples of.
I was going to say there are many times where even I've annoyed you. I need like 5 minutes. You're smiling with me, giving me high five. There's so many things I can pick out of that example. I think one thing I'll definitely say is that you have never let any negative experience in the past or current affect the way you still lead other people. You've never let this betrayal of trust, you've never let anger get in your way. Well, I'll say you've never let anger get in your way to the point where you kind of just write people off. So that is so awesome to hear.
Yeah, no, one thing I would say is that trust can be rebuilt. Right, and you have to give people the opportunity for that. I remember this example I gave. I was recommending the person for a promotion, and my wife was thinking, why? Because I didn't need to. Yeah. Does that make sense? Like, I actually did not need to. If I didn't, it wouldn't be because I was being antagonistic. No, I actually did not need to. Me doing that was actually like goodwill. Yeah, it's the sort of thing a sponsor would do, an organization, a sponsor would do for somebody who maybe it's not quite time, but let's put them over. That's what I was doing. So I didn't need to be doing that. It wasn't like I was withholding something from them if I didn't do it. No, it wasn't time. And so you just, your heart is very delicate.
It's true.
So you don't let all these things contaminate it. Nobody is worth your heart being contaminated. Nobody. There's no human being on the face of this earth that is worth your heart being contaminated. Protect it at all costs.
That is powerful. That is powerful. And I'm sure you have to do that a lot in your position.
No, you do. We all do, though.
We actually all do.
You have to do it as well. Like, we all.
I have to. I'm still learning.
Yes.
I'm still learning, but I'm learning from you. So I have a good teacher.
Indeed. It's step by step. So now we're going to get into the
nitty-gritty
that some of these people are waiting for.
Are you guys ready?
Are
you ready?
I'm not, but I'm a courageous man.
Oh, wait, so. It's not even anything so recent. So at least we know that change has happened.
Okay, change is happening.
Yeah. So, the first one.
Yes.
I remember, I think this was 2021.
Okay.
When was the first? Oh no, 2020 actually.
2020.
I was still quite new in vibe.
Okay.
It was after the 40 days of prayer and fasting that we did. And you had sent a message through Toby. Toby was the leader of Vibe then, and he sent it to every team member. It was a video message from you, which you wanted us to acknowledge within a specified time. And I didn't. This is how I know it happened. I didn't. I don't think I've even seen the message from. Yeah, I actually hadn't seen the message from Toby yet. Right. But I just noticed I wasn't in the team group chat anymore. I'd been removed. I'd seen so many names were removed. I was like, how far? So I messaged Toby and I was
Yeah.
like, oh, hi, I've been taken out of the group chat. I don't know why. He said, go and look at my last message. Watch the video from Pastor Uche. So listen to the video, watched it rather. And in the video, you were actually asking about our well-being. You were asking about us, and you wanted us to just, respond back and just say, this is how we're feeling. I'm good or I'm not good. And you asked us to respond. I think maybe you sent this video on a Tuesday or Wednesday, but you wanted a response by Friday. And so Friday had passed. I think it was now like maybe the day after, but these days I'm not absolutely sure they're accurate. But I just know it was the day after, and the people who hadn't responded were the ones taking out of the group chat.
Wow.
And so Toby said, once you watch the video, message Pastor Uche privately, tell him you've watched it, acknowledge it, and also say, obviously, apologize. So for me, I remember messaging you. And at first, before I messaged you, I was even angry. I was like, what kind of team? What kind of is this the team behavior? After everything I've poured out into this ministry, I was so sad. I was like, should I even reply? Like, is there any point? But I did it anyway. And then you now asked, not even forgetting the video, putting the video aside, you just asked, so how are you? And I said, quite frankly, sometimes I feel like giving up on this serving thing. And you were like, me too. And that was the most human thing you've ever done. But then I think that was one of the ways me and you started to bond more and the coaching relationship we had started. But I do know that there were people after that situation who never came back to the team.
Yes.
And that was a real shaking up. So in some ways, I think if I was putting myself in the shoes of those who didn't come back to the team after that, they would say, yeah, I'm not quite sure I liked the way PU handled that.
Yes.
Can we speak about it? If you even remember this, because I don't think you will.
So, as quickly as I am to forgive, as quickly as I am to forget. Even my own errors. So I don't remember. But I listened to that and I'm almost like I cringe, like, oh my God. I cannot believe you did that. You haven't used this word. But two words come to mind as I listen to that, and the first one is impulse or impulsiveness, right? Where it's an area that one has to, that I know I work on, pretty intentionally. I've come a pretty long way from being like very impulsive, particularly when I'm upset about something. And then the second thing I would say is ego.
Okay.
But I was taking it personally. Right? I'm asking for how people are, their well-being. If somebody doesn't respond, my hearing response should be, how come you haven't responded? Are you actually okay? As opposed to taking it personal, because it was I took it as disrespect, most likely. Just knowing myself as I've been growing as a leader. So I kind of cringe to that. And I'm not going to say, because so as leaders we can say, well, the people that didn't come back, perhaps they never wanted to be there, it was time for them to leave, but they didn't know how to leave. That would be a cop out. In that if people want to leave, you want to help them exit with honor and dignity. Right? As opposed to hitting it on. So I cannot believe I did that. This is a very public, guys, whoever is listening, this is a long time. No, 2020 is not that long.
It's 4 years.
It's 4 years ago. A lot happens in 4 years, right? And that was during COVID, wasn't it?
It was.
It was during COVID, exactly. So being at home. So I think it's those two things. The ego one, I only somebody who's looking at me can talk about whether or not they still feel like my ego is high or controls me or whatever. The impulsiveness one, that one I can say, it's got me in a lot of trouble as a leader, as a person. And I put systems in place to it, because it's who I am. But I put systems in place to try and help me not be impulsive.
This will make a really good episode, talking about how you put those systems in place to not be impulsive. It's
because I say this thing about not deceiving yourself. Right?
Please say that again.
About not deceiving yourself. So when they say somebody is decisive, that's a really good leadership strength. To make decisions, and you don't always have all the information, but you can be decisive. The extreme of that is being overly impulsive. You know what I mean?
I hear you.
So decisiveness has impulsiveness in it to an extent, but there's an extreme to it. So depending on I'll say one thing on that point, depending on the situation, how much time gap I give between having made a decision and acting on it depends on the scale of the decision. You know what I mean? Something I can sleep over it, something it might be a month. It's taking me, I kid you not, a very sensitive conversation I was going to have. And I was mulling over it, thinking about it, praying, thinking through for about a year.
Yeah. Wow.
Because the conversation was going to be a game changer.
Okay.
Either for good, which was the hope, or the things were not going to be good from there. But the conversation was going to be had.
That is a lot for someone who you said used to be very impulsive.
You know what I mean? I took my time.
Wow.
And I kept on doing what I was doing, working with everybody, whatever. But I knew that this conversation needs to be had at some point to shift the relationship in a positive way. Because as leaders, when you're a growing leader, you make many blunders, you make many mistakes. You've grown. You're still growing. But the people who lead you, the human nature, they tend to think about you like you were.
Yeah, that is true.
As opposed to think about you like you are. And it's your responsibility, if they haven't seen that, to help them to point out that is a change.
So you would say for someone like me, people may have remembered the Shide of 2020 that was like, please, I'm not doing any sort of leadership role. And they might still be thinking of me that way in 2024. So it's up to me to change their perspective.
Absolutely.
Wow,
to the extent that you feel the need to.
Okay.
Right? Or that it's important.
I think that's a good point.
To do that. It's very important. Otherwise, because first impressions last for a long time. Sometimes for a lifetime.
I think that's a bit sad, but this is a different topic.
What's that?
When first impressions last for a very long time.
They do, for all of us.
I don't know how I feel about that.
Yeah, yes. I know. You know, it's not. It's the reality of life.
But you are right. You are very right. And just speaking about timing, because when I think about what happened in 2020 with the group chat, I think maybe in itself too, there was some sort of not knowing or understanding the timing, because this was COVID times.
This is it.
People were going through a lot. It was a very new, unimaginable thing that we're going through. So maybe some people just didn't have the mental capacity at that point in time. Yeah. But this now takes me on to a very sensitive one. This one happened to me.
Yeah, let's do
so I feel like I can really talk about this one.
Yeah, let's talk about it.
And this happened last year. So it was, you called me just before I was about to get on a flight. I was going to Lagos. And you just, like, hey, shit, how are you? How are you doing? You give small jokes, very small
customer,
very small, polite jokes just to soften me up. Okay, you know what you're doing now? I'm in the airport. You're like, okay. Then you now proceeded to start to speak about some things that you had heard I hadn't delivered on, and the perspective it was having on me, and how I hadn't given you updates, and just speaking about, I know where your heart was. And I think this is when we go back to the whole point on trust, it made things good in that time. But even if, let's say there was no trust there, but even with the trust there, I was about to get on a flight. You just told me off. I think we spoke for like an hour. I couldn't even eat. I wanted to have breakfast before I got on the flight. I couldn't even eat. I just sat down somewhere with my laptop, just listening. And you told me off, and I spent the whole flight just thinking about this situation. Wow. And I wrote a letter to you on the flight.
Did you ever send the letter?
I think, I did. You did? But it was not, it was more of, it was less of it was a letter, but more of, okay, this was the point she mentioned. This is my defense.
I remember this.
So just in case, because we couldn't have the conversation on the phone, and you even told me to think about it on my way.
You have 6 hours.
Exactly. You're like, you have time, so you can really think about it, and any response you have, then you let me know. But I think the timing wasn't great. So from a personal perspective, now this was just me and you. What do you think about that situation? I feel like this is like therapy now.
You're healing. I'm healing. We are co-healing. When I hear that, the key thing that comes to mind is really about what is the goal of this conversation. You know what I mean? Now I'm hoping that now if I were to call somebody to have a conversation, and then they tell me they're at the airport, right? I would say, okay, cool. Let's speak about this. later, or kind of talk about something else. In fact, as I'm speaking, the nature of that conversation where I'm going to talk about development areas, have a bit of it's a serious conversation, and you're gonna be hearing things you don't want to hear.
Yeah.
Even if some of those things are misunderstandings. Those sorts of conversation need to be positioned. So I should tell you, we need to talk. So I shouldn't be calling you randomly at the airport. It shouldn't be a random call. It's like we've scheduled a time, and that this is likely what we're going to talk about.
Yeah.
You have some time to think about it, you're prepared, and then we have the conversation. So it goes back to timing, a bit of impulsiveness. Was this 2021?
No, 2023.
Oh my God, last year. Jeez. So
Still changing.
So those sort of conversations I think the one thing I would say is this sense of urgency, reading the room as well.
Okay.
Right. And it's definitely something I need to do better, right? In terms of reading the room, and it's not about just getting it off your chest. Leading people is not a to-do list.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Which is something that I've learned and I continue to learn. It's not like, okay, look, conversation, tick, I've done it. It's not putting something in your calendar. It's not buying a plane ticket. It's a human being.
Yeah.
And one of the things that increasingly I've grown in over the last couple of decades is knowing that whatever the current specific situation is, it is within the context of an entire person.
Wow.
You know what I mean?
That's powerful.
It's you're dealing with this issue right here, right now. It's a task or whatever, and the person doesn't even say they dropped the ball.
Yeah.
But it's in the context of the entire person. And I always want to check: is there something else happening? Right? Let me give you a classic example.
Yes, please.
I was walking into a building, and there's a person that is under one of the teams that I lead, and I thought to myself, I had given this guy, I'd given him a piece of advice, or kind of told him stop doing X.
Yeah.
And I had it in mind to follow up on that. We were walking into the same building. Now, what I told him to stop is sensitive. And I could see from his body language that is like, I don't like what I'm hearing.
Okay.
And that was maybe weeks ago,
Yeah.
maybe a couple of months past. So I was now walking in, and I thought to myself, I have to check up. Has he stopped?
Yeah.
And for I don't know whether it's intuitive, growing as a leader, I just thought to myself, no, leave it. He's not expecting this.
Yeah.
I should position this better to say, we need to talk about that. Let me know when it's a good time.
Okay.
Something along those lines. But either way, I didn't. And I just said, hello, how are you doing? Blah, blah, blah. We got up the escalator. We kept on walking. And I was like, so how is family and this and that? And he shared with me a health condition that his parent just had.
Oh, wow.
And it was serious. It's the kind of thing that he shouldn't even have been there. Should have been at home.
Yeah.
But it's not out. So imagine, I don't know that has happened in the last 5 days.
Yeah.
And I just see him and say, by the way, this thing, have you stopped it?
Wow.
Do you get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I mean, when that happened, I just thought to myself, talk about saved by the Holy Spirit. I'm like, this is God, thank you. Because if I had done this, it doesn't matter that I didn't know what was going on.
Yeah.
It was just, there's no way I would have been able to, what do I say to him? And how will he take it?
Yeah.
So I think that's a good example of one where reminding me of like the thing we're talking about now, that you really have to be careful when you're speaking to people. It's people.
This is a whole year later, so
There's been some progress.
This happened April 2023, so we're almost a year.
So we are almost there. And I think the good thing is this is an area that I know I need to be constantly mindful of. See what I mean? Like I have to be mindful, because it's I know there's some things that are strengths. I don't believe that all weaknesses become strengths. No, but you can stop them from being significant limitations.
Like you said, you put systems in place for dealing with impulsiveness.
That's it. So you kind of put those systems in place and you find the time.
This is what Pastor Shola says. Staff your weaknesses.
Staff your weaknesses, right? And be accountable.
Yeah.
So say to people, like, this is an area that, hey, look, it's an area I struggle with, or I'm working on. So if you see me doing that, like, call me out politely, but call me out. Like, help me get better in this regard.
And this is something I know that you have done, not just with me. You do it with everybody that you lead. You tell them, you know I'm human. Tell me this. If you don't like the way I said it, say it.
This is
and
it.
feel free to be able to give me feedback. So
Yeah, I do. I can be quite direct, so I
you're
have to
direct
put those
both ways, which is good.
both ways, and both in the good and the bad.
You'll be very happy to know that was all I had.
That was all you had.
Yeah, you know what? You can relax.
I can relax.
Yeah.
I'm totally sold. So let me throw something at you.
Ooh, I wasn't expecting.
You weren't
this.
expecting.
No.
Let me throw something at you. If you go back to 2020 and you look at yourself now, the level of you are now leading leaders, right?
Yeah.
So if you go back to 2020, what would you tell yourself? Seeing where you are now.
That's a good one. What will I tell Shide in 2020? I think something I'll reiterate to myself is take every opportunity, especially from the people who lead you and you're accountable to, because I won't say they know what's best for you. People can see what you can't see, especially of yourself. And we're talking about blind spots. So you, Toby, other people that I was working with in ministry then could see things that I couldn't see about myself.
Absolutely.
So I would go back and I'll be like, just trust them. Don't fight them, please.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like that. I think that so there's something they call the Peter's principle, which is being promoted. They say you're promoted to the level of your incompetence.
Oh.
Like when you're promoted to a new level.
Yeah.
So if you think about it in this level, let's say typically this level, you're in that level for 3 years.
Yeah.
When you start day one, you are nowhere near where you will be in 3 years' time. Does that make sense?
So
they say by the time you were good at the level 2, now you're in level 3. In level 3, you're now incompetent, learning to be good in level 3.
This gives me some comfort for where I am
You
right
know
now.
what I mean? So I think that if people understand that, then first of all, they give themselves more grace.
Yeah.
And beyond that, there's also the element of leaders understanding that, because we forget.
Yeah.
We forget that at some point you were there, making mistakes, making blunders, thinking you couldn't do it, do something and go and say, sitting down and just waiting for someone to say something positive so that you don't feel like you've completely, so it's almost like remember when you started, remember where you're starting from, and not only give yourself grace, give the people around you grace.
Grace is the word right now.
Is the word, right?
Yeah.
Be kind to yourself, as they say. Shide, this has been awesome.
It's been fantastic.
Yeah? Are you going to come back?
I will.
You're going to come back? For sure?
If you have me though.
I definitely will.
Are you sure?
Maybe the conversation will be the vulnerable leadership.
Okay. That would be good.
There were a couple of things around that we can probably dig
I think we
into.
can pull out a bit more even from this
conversation.
Episode. Yeah.
Thank you so much for listening. If this has been useful, please like it, comment, and pay it forward. Share it with somebody. Until next time, stay blessed.